Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of this free 13-part series that walks you through setting up your Thinkific site from start to finish. In this episode, episode 3, we're creating the course, setting pricing, the after purchase page, certificates, reviews, the settings you must get right before adding the curriculum. In episode 1, you got a lay of the land to understand where to find everything in your Thinkific site. In episode 2, we completed the full backend setup. I would strongly suggest and encourage you to go back and watch those if you have not yet. If we haven't met, my name is Kim, better known as Brainy Girl, and I have been one of Thinkific's top experts since 2015. I have literally built hundreds of Thinkific sites for clients and have helped thousands of students get their Thinkific sites set up as well. If this process of getting it set up properly yourself seems daunting, feel free to reach out. I will leave a link to my website below. Okay, without further ado, let's get into episode 3. Okay, we're going to start here at products and courses. So, when you're setting up a course, we have two options, the new course builder and the classic course builder. I'm going to show you both because you need to choose when you're setting up the course which one you're going to use. So, I'm going to set up, just kind of give you the basics of the course player for both of them. We're going to start with the classic course. From here, you can choose to get some help with the outline or whatever through their automated options here. But for this one, I'm going to choose blank and get started here. And so you're just going to enter your course name and create course. So now you're taken into the overview, which is just some information about the instructor, the community, and so on. There's two different sections that we need to go to here. First of all, I'm going to take you into the curriculum to show you what it looks like in the classic course builder. So they have what's called chapters. Chapters are like modules. So we would add a chapter first, and then we would put in the chapter title or the module title, and then click save. And then within each chapter, they have what's called lessons. So in a classic builder, you've got different lesson types to choose from. So we're going to go with, like in a video lesson, you could have a video, but you could also have text and downloads in it. So just because it's a video lesson doesn't mean it's just video. But we'd put in the lesson title here. And then you would upload the video once you have one. And then you could also put in text and downloads below here. Then we're going to click Save Lesson. We have to mark it as a draft because we haven't put a video in there yet. Then you can add another lesson, and this, again, you would choose your different lesson types that you want to put in here. For instance, in a text lesson, you could put text, you could put images, you could put videos. So just because it's marked as a certain kind of lesson, there are other things that you can add into some of those lessons. So for an audio lesson, for instance, you'd put in the lesson name, then you can browse your asset library or upload an audio. We'll look at the lesson settings when we get into curriculum in episode 4. And then you can also add some text into audio lessons in this section here. All right, so that is basically the classic course builder. Now let's go back to courses, and we're going to create one with the new course builder just so I can show you the difference. So it takes us into the same interface, and then we go to add content. And we're in the curriculum section here. So you can see it looks slightly different, but it's still got chapters and lessons. So we're just going to rename this chapter and save that. And then we can go ahead and add a lesson. So I'm just going to delete this one. And then we're going to start from scratch and just add a lesson to that chapter or that module. So same thing, we add a name to the lesson, which is what the student sees as the lesson name. Save that. And so here's the big difference. With the new course builder, you can basically drag and add a bunch of different components to one lesson. Now, we need to be a little bit careful here because we don't want to put a video and text and images and PDFs and links in one lesson. This is some information about the new course builder. There are some components that we still can't add because it is in beta currently. I will leave a link to this help article, which is Thinkific's help article on this, in the video below. But as you can see here, it shows you the differences between the new course builder and the classic course builder, which one to use, kind of helps you choose. And then this is the important part. So currently available in the new course builder, this is the lesson types or the components that we can add to it. So, video, text, quiz, and so on. But these are not available yet. So if you want to do surveys, advanced quizzes, exams, or assignments, we can't use those in the new course builder yet. Now, by the time you're watching this video, we might be able to. But at this point, we cannot add those in the new course builder. Okay, so let's go back and build a lesson now. And building a lesson is basically just stacking different components into one lesson. But again, you don't want to stack too many in here because you want your students to have wins, meaning you want them to be able to complete a lesson and feel like they finished it. Not that they had to watch an hour-long video, plus read a PDF, plus follow a couple of links somewhere, plus read some text. So you don't want to just stack different components inside a lesson. We want to be strategic about how we do this so that they will finish the lesson in one sitting and not feel like, oh God, I didn't even finish that lesson. I've now got to go back and finish the lesson. Okay, so let's start by adding an image. So let's go grab an image here. So I'm just going to click on the image icon and browse my files, find an image here that I want to use and let it upload. Perfect. Now there's a little bar that pops up above that I can change the alignment, or I can, drag it out, make it a little bit bigger, smaller, whatever. So now we might want to add some text underneath this image. So we're just going to click the text icon. And there we go. So right above that text line there is what's called the WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. And that's where we can change like the text. We can make it bold, underlined, and so on. So you could put your text in here. All right, so let's go back to our courses here. So now we've got Dog Training 101, which is the classic course, and then we've got the new draft course, which is the new course builder. So we're going to go back into our Dog Training 101. We're going to use the classic builder, and we're just going to add a lesson here, and then you would just choose your lesson. Now, again, we're going to go into curriculum, deep dive into it in episode 4. But for right now, I just wanted to show you the difference. So it's really about how you want to build them, what you want to put in your lessons, and so on. So make your choice about classic course or new course builder, and that's where you're going to start from. All right, so let's go back into Dog Training 101. We're going to click on Manage. Again, we're back in the Overview section. We can look at enrollments, completion rate, average progress. Again, we have no one in here, but once we do, that would give us some insight. Then we've got the Learners tab, which just shows us who's in there, what kind of progress they've made, when they started, when their course expires, their time in their course expires, and so on. So you just get some quick stats on the students and how they're doing. So we'll click on Settings now, and this is where we're going to start building out the settings part of the course. So the first thing is basic settings, and under that we've got our course name. So of course this would show up on a certificate, so whatever you want to show if you are having a certificate. Right here is the slug or the permalink, so that's what comes at the end of the URL. Now we don't want this to be a big long link. We want this to be as succinct as possible. So we don't want this to be something like dog training to figure out whether your dog, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want a big long link like that. We want to make it succinct. So in this case, we're just going to use the name of the course, Dog Training 101. And then we can choose the instructor. Now, you can have different instructors, but you can only have one instructor per course right now. So whoever the site admin is who sets up the course, they will be named the first instructor in there. So let's save these settings for now. Let's go over and create a new instructor. So we're going to go back to courses, and then at the top here, we're going to click on instructors. Now, if you wanted to go in and edit the instructor that's in there, you can just click on their name. And as you can see, I've already added some information in here. Now, the reality is that this is really not going to show anywhere. The name is really all that's going to show, unless you are using Thinkific default sections to build your landing pages, which I would not suggest. So you really only need the name and maybe the title. So we're just going to save this. If you make any changes, of course, you need to save it. We're going to go back to instructors, and then we're going to create a new instructor. And for this one, we're just going to use a fake name, Jane Smith. And again, you don't really need to fill out any other information in here. The only thing you may decide to fill out is the title. So we'll just put in here senior instructor, and then we're going to click on save. All right, so now we have two instructors to choose from when we set up our course. So we're going to go back to courses, go back into Dog Training 101, and then we're going to go to settings, and then we're just going to change the instructor from me to Jane Smith. All right, instructor's in here now. Now, under access, you've got private and hidden. So a private course means that no one can enroll. A hidden course means that no one can find the course unless they have a link to it. I would suggest having both of these turned on right now, because what we need to do is set up the course, add the curriculum, set up the course sales page, and then test it. And in order to test it, we want at least hidden on. We're going to put private on for now, just to make sure that if for some reason this page is found, no one can actually get in. So initially, I would set both of those, check off private and check off hidden if you have the ability to. We're also going to disable text copying so that your students can't copy your IP text from the course itself. Image and description. So we need a course card. This course card shows up in your student dashboard and a number of other places. So to do this, I would head over to Canva. I would do a custom size. It's going to be 760 pixels by 420 pixels. And then we're going to create new design. So it's the right size that's required. And then what I would do is go over to templates on the left-hand side, and I would search for thumbnail. What that's going to do is bring up like YouTube thumbnails. These are usually really good starter places for you for course cards. And then you just find one that's kind of a similar style to what you'd like to use for your course cards. So let's try this one right here. So all we're going to do is change the text on here and align it center. And we're going to do dog and then training. And again, align it. And then 101 and align it. Perfect. Now we want to find an image of a dog to swap out here. So I'm going to go to photos. I'm just going to type in dog. Find one that looks cute, drag it in. There we go. That looks pretty good. You might want to change the colors or the style, but again, this isn't a Canva training video, so we're going to continue on here. Click share, click download, make sure it's on PNG, and download. Perfect. Perfect. So let's head back now to our course, and we are just going to upload this image. Great. And now we want to find or write a product description. I would definitely use AI to help you with this. What we're looking for is maximum 250 characters. And think of this as a teaser for your course. This is going to show up in a number of places, including a Google snippet, student dashboard. If you have a home page, a snippet of this may show up there as well under your course card. Right, so I'm just going to put your dog is not being stubborn. They just have not been taught yet. Dog Training 101 covers all these commands. In short daily sessions, you can actually fit around real life. So it's like a little teaser that tells them what they're going to get, but also makes it enticing. Now, while we're here, we're actually going to copy the course product description, and we're going to put it as an SEO description as well, because it should fit the bill for both. Then we also need the SEO title. So again, these are things that show up in Google snippets or when someone shares your course sales page on social. So you could use the course name as the SEO title, but I would be more inclined to use something that is more clickable for people. So I'm just going to use Dog Training 101, train your dog at home in 10 minutes a day. That's a strong, clickable title. And then we need course keywords. So these are things that someone would type into Google or ChatGPT, which would then hopefully serve up a course like this. Again, this doesn't guarantee that you are going to be ranked on any of these, but if you have strong buyer intent keywords, then you're more likely to be found. So I'm just going to paste a bunch in here, separated by commas, and then we'll save those settings. Okay, so now we've scrolled up to admins, revenue partners, and affiliates. So you would need to go add them in users first if you wanted to add any course admins or revenue partners. And so course admins are generally going to be instructors or VAs or someone that you want to be able to help with the courses themselves. And then revenue partners are going to be instructors or someone that you're splitting revenue with. So you just go over there to users, you would add them as users first, and then you would come back in here and select them. For affiliates, if you have affiliates, you could exclude all of them from this course if you didn't want them to promote it. If you do want them to promote it, then you just leave that box unchecked. And that's it for these settings here. So now we're just going to click on Save Settings to make sure that those are saved. Now that's one part of the settings that we need to do. There is a secondary set of settings that we need to take care of as well. So we're going to click on Edit Content. And then here we've got two tabs, Curriculum and Settings. We need to go into the Settings tab here. And we're going to start here with the Course Progress and Completion section. So this is the video lesson autoplay. I would suggest not checking that. And the reason is that all the large browsers like Chrome, when someone starts one of your videos in a lesson, if you have it on autoplay and it just starts playing, they will actually mute it. And so the user then has to find the volume and turn on the volume, and they might have missed some of the lesson in that time. The other reason why you want to turn that off is you want the student to be engaged and press play when they're ready, not just because they land on the lesson. So unless there's some other use case for this, I would not have the video lessons on autoplay. I would uncheck that box. So for all the sites we work on, we actually turn off that box. So as far as video completion percentage required, this is, again, is in regards to video lessons inside your course. The use case for this would only be, for me, if you have some kind of CE or CEU program where the student must finish the entire video before they can click on the complete and continue button at the bottom. If that was the case, you would check that and mark it as 100% completion required. Otherwise, there's really no reason that you would need to make sure that they completed the entire video. So if you don't need that, if you don't have a CE or CEU or some outlier use case, then I would uncheck that. The next section, chapter completion, you want to make sure that this is checked. And that is so at the end of every chapter, the student doesn't get a pop-up that says, want to leave a review, want to leave a review, want to leave a review. That gets super annoying. We just want them to leave a review at the end of the course, not after every chapter. So we want to check this box. Okay, on to the course completion section, and there's two different settings here. So right now we're just going to save these settings because we want to enable the completion certificate. So if you're offering a certificate at the end of your course, then we want to be able to set that up now, and then we're going to set up the custom completion page. So what we're going to do is go over to Canva. So these are the certificates that we've designed that our premium community members get access to. They can import these into their own Canva account, so they don't have to start from scratch when they're designing certificates. What we're going to do in order to do the certificates is, first of all, we're going to go over to users and then down to certificates, and then we're going to create a new certificate. And if you're using the same certificate for all your courses and the only thing that changes is the student's name and the course name, then you could just create like a master certificate. You could also create certificates for every course if you want them different. But if you want the same design, the same branding across all your certificates, then you could just create this master certificate. So Thinkific has a number of different templates, we'll call them. I don't think any of them are particularly flexible, which is why we've designed these certificates. But you can see underneath this one here, it says Abstract Vibrant. That's the template. So these ones are actually designed for the classic simple certificate template style in Thinkific. So right under that Abstract Vibrant one, under Choose Templates, you would choose Classic Simple if you're going to use our templates. And then you would find the template you want. And we've left space in there for the variables. And that would be like the student's name, the course name, the date it was issued, if there's a certificate expiry date, and so on. So Thinkific adds those themselves. So we've left appropriate space in there for that. Again, you can go design your own certificates if you'd like to, or you can use Thinkific's templates in here if you prefer the look of those. So you're going to choose your template. It's called in Thinkific. And then we're going to go over to the Content tab. And if you're using certificates that you've designed in Canva, then I would suggest taking out all of the text that is in this section here, because that's already on the certificates themselves. If you have custom fields that you want on the certificates, in which case you would have to choose them here and make sure that there is space on the certificate for those custom fields. And then right here, you just put the name of the custom field, and then the custom field will be picked up from the student profile before that certificate is issued. So I wouldn't put any of the other custom fields. I would take out that text as well. Date issued would be the date that they've completed the course. That's auto-populated. The expiry description, so that would be if your certificate actually expires. You could put an expiry date on it there. And again, it's auto-populated if you have this text in here. So then we're going to go over to design. And as you can see, there's only 4 fonts right now to choose from. And those would be the font for the variables on the certificate. So what I would do when I design the certificates is I would make sure that you choose this font first, and then whatever font you use on the certificate that you're designing in Canva, if you're designing it there, you would use the same one. So we're going to choose Montserrat, and then we're going to go over to Canva and make sure that the certificate that we're going to work with is using Montserrat. So I'm just going to make a duplicate of one of these for this demo. And that way I can just highlight over the whole thing and change this font to Montserrat because that's what I chose in Thinkific. That way all of the font on the certificate will match the variable font that Thinkific is pulling in to put on the certificate. Once you're done, you just click share, download, make sure it's a PNG, and click on download. So then we'll go back to Thinkific. And for the primary text color and the secondary text color, I'm going to, again, match that to the certificate. So on the certificate, we use black. We're going to use black here as well. And the tertiary text color, that's for these items at the bottom. So I normally just leave those a lighter gray. And then for the background image, this is where we're going to actually upload that certificate design. There we go. So we can see where the variables are being pulled in, the student name, the license number, and the course name. But because we put in that license number in there, that custom field, now the spacing is a little bit off. So I think I'm going to go fix that first. Re-upload it here under background image. And that spacing looks a little bit better now. So we're going to save that, and then we're going to scroll down so we can actually attach this to the course. And this is where we do it here. So we're going to select the course, which is our Dog Training 101. If there was an expiration date for the certificate itself, we could click here and we could say this certificate expires after a period of time or on a certain date. And then once you're done, you're just going to click save. And now if we go back to the course, so we'll go back to the course here, go into our course, go into edit content, go to settings, and again, course progress and completion section. We've already done that part here. So you can see here now under completion certificates that master certificate is attached. And so now we'll work on the custom completion page. So the custom completion page is optional, but it's a great way to move your students into the next action step. So this is a page that shows within the course itself, once it's 100% completed. So once they've clicked complete and continue on every lesson and they've actually completed the course, this is what would show here. There's standard items that I would normally put in here. So let me just get those in and then I'll show you. So normally I would put the logo at the top and then something like congratulations, you've completed whatever course it is, what's next. Then I would do a link to get their certificates and then, buy my book or view all courses or something like that. Generally with view all courses, we'd link them back to the home page. So let's just add the hyperlink here. So I'm just going to highlight over, put in my home page, and there we go. Now we've got a hyperlink there. So I'm just going to save those settings. And then we'll come down here to course player appearance. So remember in episode 2, I showed you how to set up these default settings, the course player default settings. So I'm still going to stick with the light theme, the white background, Montserrat font, and then I'm also going to hide the icon and label because I don't necessarily want someone skipping to a lesson just because it's a video or just because it's a PDF. So they don't, as far as I'm concerned, need to know what kind of content, like what medium is in that lesson. And that's what icons and labels do. So I like to hide those. And then that's going to be the logo inside the course player where someone takes the course. And here we are at social sharing. So in episode 2, I said, don't bother filling this out for the default. We want to do this on a course by course basis. So what we want to do here is check the box so that they can do social sharing at course completion, not at chapter completion. And what that means is we give them a little teaser, they click a button, and they can post it to their own social to celebrate the fact that they've completed the course. So again, I wouldn't do that at chapter completion. I would do that at course completion. And you can use AI to help you out with this. I'll show you an example of what I would put in here. So we'll just put something in like, I just finished dog training 101 and my dog now does all these things, 10 minutes a day at home with no gadgets. If you have a new puppy or a rescue who's never been taught the basics, this is where to start. So something like this that they can just push a button, it pushes out to their social and links back to your site. So it's fantastic additional marketing and social proof for you. All right, drip schedule. So this would be if you have like a live blended learning program or a cohort where you want certain materials in your course or certain lessons to drip out at certain times, either a certain number of days from when they enroll, or it might be a specific start date. So maybe you've got a cohort that starts on August 1st and you don't want them getting access to all those lessons before then. This would be the case that you would use a drip schedule. You would not use this for an evergreen course, self-paced, where someone just enrolls, moves through at their own pace, and comes out the other end. That is not what you would use a drip schedule for. But if you do want to use a drip schedule in your course or cohort or live blended learning program, then you would check this box here to enable. And then when we talk about curriculum, I'll show you how to set up the drip schedule as well. So let's just save those settings there. And then we'll go back to the course itself. So we've done both sets of settings now. Everything's done there. So let's go over to pricing. So for pricing, you could do a free course. You could do a one-time payment where someone just pays $297 and gets access. You could do a subscription or membership. So that would be, every month they pay a certain fee, or every 3 months or every year until they cancel. That would be a subscription or membership. And a monthly payment plan would be like 3 payments of $150 or something like that. So you split the payment into 3. And generally, if you're going to do a monthly payment plan, it's a little bit more than the one-time payment. For this one, we're just going to do a one-time payment of $297, and then we have to decide how long we want them to have access to the course for. Lots of talk about lifetime access. Lifetime access, I feel like, is a bad place to go for many reasons. One of which is that if the student buys the course and then bookmarks it and never returns to it, then they're never going to complete the course. If they don't complete the course, they're not going to leave you a testimonial. They're not going to buy anything else from you. It's kind of a dead end. So we want them in, we want them taking the course, and we want them completing the course so that they get the results and the transformation that we promised them. So this is from the date of enrollment. So I'm just going to put in 1 year access in here. Again, you have to decide that for yourself. And then we'll come down here and save the primary pricing. Now, you can also add a secondary pricing. So you might want to offer a one-time payment and then 3 monthly payments. So in order to do that, because we've set the primary price, we need to set an additional price. So for this one, we're going to do a monthly payment plan. And so we're just going to put 3 times monthly payments. And then the price per payment, again, generally this is a little bit more than the one-time payment. So I'm going to put $125 in here, and they're going to pay that for 3 months, $125 a month for 3 months. And then we're going to still give them access for a year to the course. You can do a custom first payment. So maybe you want the first payment to be a little bit higher and then the other 2 payments to be a little bit lower. That would be a use case for custom first payment. So you could turn that on and put in, whatever you want the first payment to be. That would be here. And then this is the buy button that will appear in different places on the site. So again, I would just put in something like, 3 times monthly payments or something like that. And then we'll click create. And now we have our additional price and our primary price in the pricing section. Okay, so we've done our settings, our pricing. We're going to do our product page in episode 5, but we do still need to do the after purchase page. So the after purchase would be after they purchase the course, where are we going to send them? Now you could send them to a custom page, which we often do when we're building these for clients, or you could send them directly into the course and bypass, think if it's default, welcome to the course, Kim G, here's your receipt, get started. I don't see the reason that we would take them to that thank you page first. I would rather just take them into the course or into a custom thank you page. So in this case, we're going to take them just into the course because we're not going to set up a custom thank you page in this episode. So in order to do this, we have to click on Edit Content and go over to our curriculum. Now, it's better if we don't have any curriculum in here. I'm actually just going to delete this. And I'm going to click on Preview All Lessons, including drafts. So here we are inside the course, and we're just going to roll up to the browser bar now. So what we want to do is we want to take a certain part of the URL here. So we want to have your Thinkific or your custom domain, followed by courses, followed by take, followed by the slug or the permalink. And we want to take out everything after that. And when we do that and we use that URL, that will take them into the course. And the reason we're doing it this way is if you change the name of a course lesson, it will change that URL and it won't take them in here. So this way, we'll use the URL and that will just bring them into the course to the very first lesson, whatever the lesson is. If you add a lesson, you delete a lesson, you change the name of a lesson, we don't want to have to change this all the time. So this is the URL here for taking them directly into the course. So we're going to copy that. And we're going to get out of here. So we're going to click the back arrow there. We're going to go into after purchase, create an after purchase flow. And then in flow name, you can just put post purchase or something. No one sees that except you. And then we're going to mark both prices because it doesn't matter if they come in through the 3 payments or the one-time payment. We still want them to come into the course. For the destination, we're going to change this to custom URL. And then in the URL, we're going to paste the URL of inside the course. And then we're going to click on save. And the after purchase flow is done. Settings are done. Pricing's done. After purchase page is done, as well as the settings on the other part of the course setup. And that is it, the end of episode 3, where we did all of the settings and the foundation we need before we build the curriculum in your course and do the product page or the course sales page. In episode 4, we are going to build out your curriculum. And in episode 5, we are going to build out your sales page for your course. I'll put the links to episode 1 and 2 below this one so that you go back and watch them if you want to. If you know someone who uses Thinkific or is thinking about creating an online course, please share this out with them and make sure that you hit the subscribe and the notification bell so that you know as I release new videos. Thank you so much. Feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you thought of this and whether it was helpful. Take care, and I'll see you on episode 4.